There's this amazing book that I love and I've read many times. It's called Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield. And the thesis of the book, and actually I believe it's like the first page or the beginning of the book, if you ever get it, it's a very tiny book. I extremely recommend it. And it talks about 3 modalities of transformation. Okay, so he says one way to look at transforming or changing your life, okay, one of them would be to believe that you have done something wrong, okay, you have sinned. This is kind of like the way people used to look at this, right? Be like, you have sinned and now you're being punished. And once you serve your punishment, things will be better, okay? That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it, which is kind of like a more contemporary way or more modern way of looking at it, is that you are sick, you are ill, and you need to go through a treatment and then you will feel better. Okay, this is a second way of looking at transformation, right? You're sick, you're ill, you go through the treatment and then you feel better. But he says that there's a third way, and this is the thesis of the book, right? The book is called Turning Pro. And he says it's not that you have sinned and that you're being punished. It's not that you are sick and need to get better. It's that you're an amateur and you need to turn pro. And so Turning Pro, what he explains in the book, I urge you to just go read it. And he goes through what an amateur is and what an amateur does, and he talks about addiction and how that is kind of something that the amateur would do, right? And then he turns pro. Stephen Pressfield wrote The War of Art, and it's one of the first times that I heard about resistance, right? And resistance in life, and this thing called resistance. And a lot of books talk about this, right? But there is something inside of us that almost pushes us away from everything that we want. It's almost like, and he calls it resistance. He says that in order to beat or turn pro, you have to face this resistance and you have to beat this resistance day in and day out, right? And until you get the muse. I remember, the book is about him writing The War of Art and what it took for him to actually write that book. And it was basically, he talks about pulling the pin. He says in many jobs that he had, he always pulled the pin. He always just left the job or just quit or just, kind of just didn't continue, didn't face the resistance. And it wasn't until this one time where he said, I'm not going to pull the pin. I'm just not going to quit. Okay. I'm just going to keep going. And this is when he was able to finally write The War of Art and become a very, amazing writer, honestly.